Hey YouTube, I'm a remodeling veteran, and in this week's video I'd like to show you how I paint cabinets. First off, we'd like to thank our YouTube family. Without you guys we wouldn't even have a reason to do the show. So with that said, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we put out new content. First off, I'd like to bring you down, I'll readjust the camera, show you what we're going to be working with, and we'll go from there. So these are the items that I commonly use when I'm doing my cabinet painting. First off, while this may seem minor, I think that if you don't wear eye protection when you're doing small stuff, you might not wear it doing big stuff. So always a good common rule to just always wear safety glasses. That way you know you're always covered. Sandpaper, sanding block. That's just for, you always need to sand and prep the surface that you're getting ready to paint. So just make sure it's a good smooth surface and no bumps or lumps that are going to be in the way when you're painting. Try to buy a good quality brush. There's a million different possibilities for brushes, so just find what's best for you. Don't go too cheap. They can get very expensive very fast, but this is about a $16 brush, right around there, $12 to $16. So but realistically it should last forever as long as you take care of it. So you need something to be able to mix your paint. Just a old traditional paint stick would be fine. You need some material being paint to start your project, obviously. There's also a million different possibilities for paint, so just find what's best for you and find something you like. Today we'll be using a latex based paint. There's also oil based, but it's just been fun to latex. It's easy to use for me, easier to clean up. And then I like to put my paint into another container. That way I'm never contaminating. In this case, the gallon paint can that I bought. I do use a latex thinner product that we'll be putting in there, and that just helps for remove brush marks and that sort of stuff, and we'll get more into that once we start the video. But the only thing I didn't put out is tape in this instance. I won't need it, but we'll go over the areas that you might need it, and it can be very helpful too. So let me just readjust the camera and we'll get started. Alright guys, so let's get started. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I think safety glasses is a big key. We are just painting today. I guess there's always a possibility of paint or something to get in your eye, but very, very minimal, small chance. But I think if you was ever outside doing something else that required them, if you're not going to wear them now, you're not going to wear them outside. So we'll go ahead and wear them now. So first off, I'm going to start out by sanding with my sanding block to get all this smooth. As you can see, the joy of life is amazing, but my daughter has painted all over this cabinet, so I'll try to get it out as best I can. If not, the paint should cover it right up. But this is actually, it's been almost a year actually since I put this cabinet together, so there's been stuff that's got on it and whatnot. And when I first put this cabinet in, all these nail holes, I'd filled all them in, and they're pretty smooth, but we're just gonna go over it a good one time on the outside and get ready for that. So let's get to it. So once you get all sanded, I just finished that. You want to wipe all that, all the dust particles that you just created off of that. So there's a bunch of things you could use. I'm not creating fine furniture today. Obviously, we always want to create a good product, and if you're doing this for yourself, for a client, whoever, You always want to create the best product you can. So realistically, I guess it would always be good to use what they call a tack cloth. It's kind of a cloth material that's got a glue-like substance on it that grabs all the dust particles as you're going around. I've used them. I don't have any on me now, so something I actually normally use, just go over the paper towel. It grabs almost everything. It might not grab it all, but we're painting this anyway. If I was staining it, I would definitely use tack cloth because I'd want to grab it all. But we're painting this white in the long run. You're not going to see it. We'll grab 90% of it and we'll be perfectly fine. So here's the step where I would finally paint everything with painter's tape. In my case, as you can see, I have a little gap up here that I'm going to fill in with some filler wood anyways. I don't even have my drawer in here yet, so I don't have to go around that. The inside and the outside of this door is getting painted, so the only thing I'm going to have to work around is these hinges here and down here, one down at the bottom, one at the top. Those are easy enough to work around, so I'm not going to tape around them. My stove that we had put in has at least an inch gap from all the way from top to bottom, so that'll be completely easy enough to paint around. So no need to paint or to put paint on the stove. In your situation, if you think you could not move the stove far enough away, or if you think it's going to be in the way, just run tape from top to bottom, actual painter's tape. Buy something this quality. You don't want to be peeling it off and it just rips, so no scotch tape or anything like that. Buy actual painter's tape. So I guess I'll go mix me up some material and we'll get to painting this thing. So as you can see, most of your mixing containers that you're going to find at your big box stores, your local hardware stores, are going to have some sort of increments of most likely ounces. They do come in liters and mLs, liters and mLs as well, but in this case we're going to be using the ounces. So as we know, there are 4 quarts in a gallon and there are 2 pints in 1 quart, so we got 8 pints in 1 gallon. And 1 pint, as we can see, is 16 ounces. So I'm going to put 16 ounces of paint in this container, and then I'm going to add a paint thinner product or a thinning product to help with the brush marks and whatnot. And this certain manufacturer says that there are 8 ounces per gallon that we were supposed to put and mix with our paint. So since there are 8 pints in a gallon, which is 1/8, and it's supposed to be 8 ounces of the thinner in a gallon, we take 1/8 of that, which would be 1 ounce. So we're going to add 1 ounce of thinning material to our 16 ounces of paint. And it's just easier to work with this thing halfway filled up. You try to fill it all the way up and it's just easier to spill, and it's way easier to work with mixing less paint than more. And you could always save the paint that's left over in these cans. You don't have to mess with carrying a gallon can around, but at the same time, if you pour too much, and like I said, you don't want to contaminate your old material, especially if you putting a thinning product in it. So work with less. If you don't use it all, you don't have much left to either throw away or save. So let me mix up some material and I'll move the camera and readjust it and we'll get started. Alright guys, I brought you in close. Let's get ready to start this thing. Let me just get my paint stick out of here. Okay. We're gonna grab our brush. As we're gonna be painting this, you want all your brush strokes kind of go into the same pattern, or in the same direction rather. Kind of a trick you can use, I have a light that's kind of right above me. Obviously we're in my kitchen and I have an overhead light in here, and you can kind of use the reflection of the light and the shadows that are produced onto whatever you're painting to your advantage. So if I painted this whole cabinet going side to side, my brush marks, you can kind of envision, and we'll show you this as I go, the brush marks are going to be going this way, and that light is going to be refracting down and making shadows that are going to kind of become left and right and make those brush marks come out more clearly. In this certain case, it might not necessarily be too critical. Painting walls and for that matter can come more into play. So for this instance, I'm probably going to paint everything up and down just to help me out. This top section obviously probably won't, because I don't want to get any paint or have a chance to get any paint on this new butcher block we put in. So for the most part, everything will be painted straight up and down vertically, except a couple spots. So I guess without further ado, let me stop holding you guys up and let's get this thing started. So I'm gonna start out just by putting just a little bit of paint on the end of my brush. And when I say a little bit, I'm not very much at all. If you can see that, just the very end tip of this thing. Just kind of get started. You don't want to gob the whole brush and kind of dip it all the way into the container that you're working out of. It's just way too much paint. It's gonna be sloppy. It's gonna be a mess. You're gonna get paint everywhere, and it keeps a way cleaner look by using less more than a whole bunch of paint. So like I said, I have plenty of room over here on this edge with this stove, so I don't have to worry about too much of getting paint on that. But you just want all of your brush marks, you can see, to go all in the same direction. And we're going to be putting a couple coats of paint on this. One is definitely not going to be one and done type thing. I guess something else I should note, that since this is bare wood, I'm not priming this. You don't necessarily have to prime it. It does hide a lot of stuff, but the paint that I bought in particular, the manufacturer makes a paint that has a paint and primer in there together, and there's a lot of manufacturers that do that. I think that they work very well. Some people say they don't like them. They like to use a primer and then paint over it with just a paint base, and I think that it's just fine to use paint and primer mixes. So I guess in this case I don't have to cut really what they call cutting too much. If I had wood coming all the way to the top of this originally, so originally we had actually this countertop that you had seen in the video that we put over our stove to protect it, as I was showing you guys. So it actually was sitting on top of this cabinet, and then we installed this butcher block later. So that's why I have to fill all this in up top. But if I had to, I could either put painter's tape on here, which a lot of people do. Me in particular, I probably wouldn't, just because I haven't been doing this too long, I guess. But in the time that I have, in my perspective, I think I've got just good enough to where I can get just close enough to not get any paint on whatever the other surface that I'm getting on. So, and it's just easier in the long run. I don't have to worry about taking paint off, or tape off rather, and leaving it on too long or whatnot. So, I guess without further ado, let me stop boring you guys with my voice, and let's just get this thing painted. Alright guys, so I've zoomed you in here just for a second. I want to show you kind of what I'm doing with these hinges. I take my paint, and as I'm coming up, I just take my bristles, as you can see that, and I just kind of push them up right until I'm just barely right before to touch that hinge. Then I get just enough paint without getting paint on the hinge to paint all that. So you can kind of do that just about everywhere, and just kind of push your bristles up just with a little bit of paint. Like I said, always don't gob a whole bunch of paint on there. Don't do it immediately right when you have brand new paint just dipped from your container. Just kind of brush a little bit of that out and just push just until you just touch it, and bring it right back down. Alright guys, so this ain't the finished product yet, obviously. This is only one coat of paint, so I'm probably going to put about 3 on here. That's usually the norm. Some people say 2, but I just like 3. For durability standpoint, really. I don't think you're ever going to wipe it off, but just for long-term or longevity, rather, of the home. This property is actually going to be a rental for us in the long run, so anything I can do to make these things last a little longer is going to help us out in the long run. I'm not going to bore you with. Matter of fact, most of this video is probably going to be sped up, so I won't bore you. But I am going to paint the inside as well. That's just 4 sides on each side, so it's the exact same concept of what you did here, just nothing to work around. So I'll go ahead and paint all that. I'll put the final 3 coats on this today, and I'll go ahead and I'll post some still images of all that stuff at the very end of this video. So guys, I really appreciate you guys watching this video and supporting the channel. Again, without you guys, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't be wanting to put out videos. So as always guys, please subscribe. Help us out, and hit that notification bell so you know when we hit new videos, or when we post new videos. So I guess without further ado, I'll post those still images at the very end. I hope you guys liked the video. Be safe, and from the Craft family, have a blessed day. Hey guys, I'd just like to take a quick minute and put a shout out to Get Music, that is GITT Music. I'll have a link to their SoundCloud down below. This beat that was actually on my video is actually produced by James Caesar, which is one of the producers with Get Music, so please go check them out and let them know what you think. Until next time.